So dating in Singapore. And she was telling me, she's like, I want to move to Australia. And I was like, why? And she was like, I just can't find anyone here. Hey everyone, it's Emily, the Fang Girl. I get this question asked a lot. I don't know why, but people seem to be fascinated with my personal love life. And I don't know if it's just a friend thing or a family thing, but people back at home in San Francisco have been asking me this, as well as my friends, local and expat, here in Singapore. So today we are going to discuss the dating life of me as an Asian American woman in Singapore. So to preface this is purely based on my experiences. I'm not going to speak on behalf of all women dating in Singapore, especially expat women. Don't get butthurt by this because, again, this is my experience, and I'm sure people have had multiple kinds of experiences, found love, and I don't know, just had success. But again, this is purely my own experiences, so take it with a grain of salt. And let's begin. Back in San Francisco, the male to female ratio was very unevenly distributed for a woman's advantage. So you would have 4 guys to 1 girl in the Bay Area. You have a lot of homogenous guys, techies, specifically engineers who live in the Bay Area. And if you were a girl, it was great because you had a lot of dating options. If you were a guy, it sucked because you were competing with every other tech guy who worked at a FANG company or started a startup or worked at a startup, etc. Blah. So I'm using that as also a comparison to my experience dating in Singapore. So dating in Singapore, it's interesting. I think it's something that I've never experienced in my life. Even when I was overseas studying abroad, I never used dating apps. I use dating apps back in the US, but here, I think the popular ones obviously are Tinder, which to me is more of a hookup app. I tried Tinder, but it's really not for me, and I can explain more in detail. Hinge, which is quite popular back in San Francisco. It reads like a magazine, and I actually really like the interface. So kudos to Hinge for creating a really great app. And they fall in between Coffee Meets Bagel and Tinder. I think Hinge is right in the middle. So I hope you understand that spectrum. For Coffee Meets Bagel, I would say Coffee Meets Bagel is very much about dating to get married. Everyone is super, super serious on that app, and I think they date with intention, and that's not a bad thing. I think people on Coffee Meets Bagel are a lot more serious, and the whole idea is that you're in it to win it. I'm kidding, I don't think that's their byline at all, but I just made it up. And fun story, I actually met the co-founder of Coffee Meets Bagel once when I went to an event in San Francisco, and yeah, I met her and she was on Shark Tank. It was really cool, so very inspiring co-founder. There's 3 Korean sisters, and I really just think Coffee Meets Bagel is a pretty good app as well. The other one that I've never used until I got here in Singapore was Bumble, which Bumble is an app specifically designed for women to make the first move. I think the conversation doesn't begin unless the woman initiates. And to me, I'm that's great because I initiate conversations anyways, so it doesn't really matter, but I do like Bumble. So in terms of ranking, I would say I like Bumble, Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel, and last but not least, I don't like Tinder, but I would put Tinder at the bottom. I just don't like Tinder. Just really creepy guys on there, and you get an interesting mix. I will say though that dating in Singapore is quite refreshing because I don't feel like any of the guys I'm dating is going to kill me or murder me. I just feel like dating online or meeting a stranger in Singapore is a lot safer than dating and meeting someone in the US. I'll let you think about that, and I'm not going to explain why, but that's just what I think. What is it like dating as an Asian American woman here in Singapore? Well, I think the first thing is, in some ways, I do look Asian. I can easily blend in if I don't say anything, but in actuality, I think a lot of it comes down to culture and identity. think regardless, in some way, shape, or form, you still are an expat because of the way that you speak, the way that you come across, the different language or lingo that you use. It's not a bad thing, but I've definitely felt like, for me, because I don't know how long I'm going to stay here, sometimes people treat me differently because they don't see anything long term with someone like me who is an expat. I think for me, I try to date with intention and just see what's out there, but I will say that a lot of them tend to ask me, oh, like, how long are you staying? How long have you been around here? Or some people tend to think, oh, she's just an expat, like she's just gonna have fun, and I just wanna have fun too. So it's an interesting concept trying to date. And I think a lot of the people here, specifically like Singaporean men, are quite filial. And there's some who've never left Singapore, and their thinking is very different, right? Because it's like anyone who has never left their home country, it is very narrowed down to a specific type of thought. Because if you've never seen anything outside of the world, you don't develop a different mindset. And then there are some guys, some Singaporean guys, who have traveled all over the world, super highly entrepreneurial, and they want to conquer the world, but they can't because their family's here. And I found that I tend to get along better with the guys who have traveled overseas and just enjoy talking about, different facets of life. And I will say that I have not dated another expat here in Singapore, and specifically because I don't want to. I think the expat community is small, and I just don't really want to do that yet. So we'll see. I don't know. I think it's just interesting for me. I'm just, doing ground research. But I will say that I've had a lot of girlfriends tell me that the dating pool is quite small, and it's hard to date here because a lot of people, they date their high school sweetheart or their college sweetheart, or you have a lot of families living in Singapore who've already established partners. They have children because Singapore is so friendly for families. And then a lot of single people are transient. So they're here for a year or 2 years. They're here for a program. They're here for an MBA at INSEAD, or they're here for, on the company dime. So you really get this airport-like, transient-like culture and an environment where it's highly diverse and you meet so many exciting people, but it really is just, like in and out, and people are just leaving or moving in. And it's funny because I had a chat with a friend in a Grab, and she was telling me, she was like, I want to move to Australia. And I was like, why? And she was like, I just can't find anyone here. And she was roughly around like 35, 36. And she told me that, she's saved a lot of money, she has assets, she has property, she has all these things that she's established herself with, but she just couldn't find a partner here in Singapore. And so she is literally thinking of moving to Australia in hopes of finding a partner. And I was like, damn. So I will say that dating is exhausting for me. I just think that it's really hard trying to put up a front and be, on your best behavior every time you meet someone. So I've been on a few dates here and there, and some guys are really great and kind, but it's just hard. In any type of context, dating has just been interesting. I've met guys who all they want to do is just talk about themselves, and I'm like, why am I on this date? And then I've met guys who are very sweet, but they lied about their height, because I'm actually really tall for an Asian, and I don't like it when guys lie about your height. Like, you don't think we'll notice, but we do. Like, we notice if you lie about your height. So don't lie about your height. And I think the third thing is, maybe I don't know what I want myself, right? Like, maybe I think I wanted to put out feelers there to see if I could find my lifelong partner as well, but obviously I haven't, and maybe the universe is telling me that I need to focus on myself before trying to find a partner to fulfill that part of me. I've learned a lot dating here as an expat. Am I still dating? No, I'm not. I deleted all the apps and I was like, I'm done. don't want to date anyone. I don't really want to meet any new guys. I just want to focus on myself and work on the things that I'm passionate about. And I don't see anything wrong with that. But I do understand the sentiment that I'm getting from my friends that the dating pool is smaller here in Singapore. In this population, this small city-state, you meet incredible people from all over the world. But the dating pool is small. And if you think about it, it's like, if you have a specific type and you want them to be single, you want them to be great, and you want them to be a certain type of personality, you're just narrowing it down, and you're not left with a lot of options. Because again, Singapore is small, and I don't know, it's just harder to find someone. So I think for me, I'm not going to look for it anymore. I think I still have time, fortunately, and it's not a priority just yet. I want to do whatever I want to do, and if I find a partner in the future that matches my personality and is very complementary to my lifestyle, then great, right? Like, that's awesome. But dating as an expat is kind of exhausting, and dating with intention means more to me than just not dating with intention. And I will say, if you're an expat and you want to date, like, go, like, have fun, experience the world, like, meet new people. It's totally fine. Like, you should do that if you want to. But if you get burnt out too, like, just understand you need to rest, because it can get really exhausting. So really, I'm just caught in between two different types of thinking, where one, I think dating is kind of a necessity if I want to find a life partner, because they're not going to find me in my pajamas at home, or they're not going to find me miraculously, like, on the street and be like, oh my God, you're the one for me, right? Like, I think a lot of it is like needing to put yourself out there and meeting new people. So I think that's one aspect I will continue to do, which is put myself into opportunities where I can meet new people. And if I meet someone cool, then great. And then the second part of me is, why am I looking so hard? And do I even need to look so hard? Because I have this weird philosophy that if you look too hard for something, you'll never find it. So anyways, I just wanted to echo my sentiments to you guys, because I feel like I've been getting this question a lot. I don't know why everyone is so interested in the dating culture here in Singapore, but I mean, it really just falls on a spectrum, right? Some people date for fun and they have casual sex and do whatever they want, and that's fine. But I will caution you that the world is small in Singapore. So if you're gonna be an asshole, or you're gonna be a dick, or you ghost someone, just know that your reputation might follow you, because the dating community, or the expat community, is really small. So just be careful of that. Dating is a lot around going at your own pace. If you find that you're getting burnt out and you just don't want to do it, you don't need to do it. You don't need to date, but I think the idea is that you're putting yourself out there from time to time, and you're not just at home watching Netflix, binging Bridgerton, which I'm doing, but so anyways, I hope that was insightful. I feel like I went in depth about my own dating experiences and my thoughts around it. If you're curious about what it was like dating in Singapore, there you have it. If you just want to keep up or ask questions or follow along on this journey of mine, please hit subscribe and comment below what you think. And maybe if you've dated before in Singapore as an expat, or you're a local, I would love to hear about your personal experiences with dating online. So thanks, see you next time.